Hello, Dr. Joe here. So, not a week goes by that I don't get some sort of inquiry regarding the best cooking oils to use. And I usually respond to you guys, and I felt I should do a video on the subject to clarify what cooking oils you should be using for those of you who like to use cooking oils. Now, so what you're going to get are the best 4 cooking oils plus 1, okay? For those of you who watch the entire video, I'm going to reward you with a 5th one. So these are the best of the best. And, it took me a while to gather the data regarding the nutritional composition of these oils, analyzing the data, and coming up with, what I would call disqualifying criteria to exclude the bad oils, such that what you're going to get now are the best cooking oils. So 4 plus 1, that's what you're going to be getting. So we've got a lot to get through. Let's dive straight in. Cooking oil number 1 that is ideal would be this one here, avocado oil. Okay, avocado oil. Let's talk about avocado oil some more. Okay, so let's talk about avocado, which is the number 1 oil on the list here. We're going to talk about why avocado made the list. Now, here's something that you will find. There is no oil that has a single type of fatty acid in it. They have all the different types of fatty acids. Is the proportion of the fatty acids in them that differs. So you're going to find that every oil has saturated fats, has got monounsaturated fatty acids, has got polyunsaturated fatty acids in the form of omega-3 and omega-6. So is the proportion of those fatty acids that actually differs between the oils. So let's look at avocado. Avocado has mainly monounsaturated fatty acids, MOFAs. And let's look at the different fatty acid composition of avocado oil. So the monounsaturated fatty acid content of avocado is 71%. So that's pretty high. And the polyunsaturated fatty acid content is 14%. With a saturated fatty acid content of 12%. That is avocado oil. So that is why it made the list. And I'm going to talk about my disqualification criteria that I used in choosing these oils. You'll find out later. It's quite interesting. So omega-6 to 3 ratio of avocado oil is 12 to 1. So some people might argue that, well, that's a little bit high. However, I used a cutoff point of 15 to 1. So I classify avocado oil as having a medium range omega-6 to 3 ratio. It is rescued by the fact that the monounsaturated fatty acid content is pretty high. So that is why it made the list. But you're going to find out the different compositions of the oils as we go along. And what is cooking oil number 2? So oil number 2 is flaxseed oil. And the emphasis here is cold pressed. You should endeavor to find a cold pressed flaxseed oil like I'm displaying on the screen there. So let's look at the fatty acid nutritional composition of flaxseed oil. Now, the monounsaturated fatty acid content of flaxseed oil is not too high. It's only 18%. The polyunsaturated fatty acid content is 68%. So it's got mainly that. Now, you might think, oh, that's a high level of polyunsaturated fatty acid. But what you have to remember is that the omega-3 composition of the polyunsaturated fatty acid content is pretty high. So you have more of the omega-3, making up 79% of the polyunsaturated fatty acid content. So that is why it made the list. And the saturated fatty acid content of flaxseed oil is only 9%. So that's pretty good, okay? The POFAs is made up of more of omega-3. That is the point. That's the essential point of flaxseed oil. Now, the kicker for the flaxseed oil is the omega-6 to 3 ratio. This is where it really shines, okay? It shines brightly. The omega-6 to 3 ratio of flaxseed oil is 0.2 to 1. That is unbeatable, okay? This is unbeatable. So you can see why flaxseed oil really made the list. And like I've said here, it is a fantastic omega-6 to 3 ratio that flaxseed oil has got. As for cooking oil number 3, here it is. Olive oil. olive oil makes the list. Let's look at the nutritional composition of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, I should say, okay? Extra virgin olive oil. It is that 73% of it is made up of monounsaturated fatty acids, and the 11% makes up the polyunsaturated fatty acid content of extra virgin olive oil, and the saturated fatty acid content of extra virgin olive oil is 14%. So, it's all right. Now, let's look at the omega-6 to 3 ratio. It's actually 14 to 1. So, it's not really fantastic, and it barely made the cut because, like I told you, I'm going to talk about my cutoff point, which I used as 15 to 1. So, extra virgin olive oil barely made the cut, but it did. And like I've said here, it's got a borderline omega-6 to 3 ratio. What about cooking oil number 4? Oil number 4 that makes the list is canola oil. Now, this is probably going to surprise a lot of you, but here's the thing. The emphasis here is cold pressed, okay? The emphasis should be cold pressed. You have to try as much as possible to lay your hands on cold pressed canola oil. That is where the nutrition is preserved. It's still got vitamin E, it's got vitamin K, it's all in there. Now, canola oil has got a bad rap, and the reason for that is because a lot of the canola oil in circulation are highly industrialized, they're highly processed, they lack any nutrition. So it's got that bad rap. However, if you can lay your hands on the cold pressed canola oil, like I'm displaying on the screen there, you are good to go. Now, let's look at the fatty acid nutritional composition of canola oil. The monounsaturated fatty acid content of canola oil, okay, cold pressed, is 64%. And that's really high, okay? That's why it made the list, really high. And the polyunsaturated fatty acid content is 28%, with a 7% saturated fatty acid content. So this is why the cold pressed canola oil made the list. And wait for it, the omega-6 to 3 ratio of cold pressed canola oil is 2 to 1. Okay, 2 to 1. That is good. Okay, that is really, really good. And that's why it made the list. Okay. And like I've said here, the omega-6 to 3 ratio is very ideal. Hence, it made the list. So, try and lay your hands on the cold pressed canola oil and you'll be good to go. And now let me talk about the disqualifying criteria that I used. Okay. How did I exclude a lot of the oils? You're going to find out now. The first disqualifying criterion that I used is if the oil has a high omega-6 polyunsaturated fatty acid content, it's out. Okay, that's it, it's out. So is the reason why oils like these ones here, Brazil nut oil, walnut oil, which should have been a good oil, didn't make the list because of the polyunsaturated fatty acid content of walnut oil and Brazil nut oil. Hemp seed oil as well. Okay, hemp seed oil should have been a good oil. It didn't make the list. Cottonseed oil, grapeseed oil, they also didn't make the list because of the omega-6 content. Too high. So that is disqualifying criterion number 1. Let's move on to disqualifying criterion number 2, and that is a high omega-6 to 3 ratio. Like I said earlier on, I used a cutoff point of 15 to 1. Anything above that, out. Okay? Anything above that is out. So that's criterion number 2. Criterion number 3 is if the oil has got a high saturated fat content, is out as well. Because the saturated fat content of oils, saturated fat usually is not my recommended oil because of the fact that it raises cholesterol levels, even pushes up your triglycerides, and not just that, it leads to the quick production of ceramides that lead to metabolic disorders like diabetes. So saturated fat content, if it is high, the oil is out. Now we're going to talk about oil number 5, but before then, a quick plug. And the plug is this book here. It's my book on managing high blood pressure with lifestyle approach. Links to get a book right below this very video. So oil number 5 will be macadamia oil. Macadamia oil is one of the best oils out there. The mono unsaturated fat content of macadamia oil is 68% with, wait for it, only 5% polyunsaturated fatty acid content. That is really fantastic. It's one of the best oils out there. The only problem with it is rare to find, but if you can lay your hands on macadamia oil, that is one of the best cooking oils to go for. Okay, so a few points to make before we round up. And the first point is that as far as I am concerned, the healthy fats to consume are the mono unsaturated fatty acids and the omega-3 fatty acids. And you can see that reflected in my selection of the cooking oils. That's the first point. The second point to make is that when it comes to consumption of these oils, you want to really consume these oils in the raw format, okay? Because when you heat these oils to very high temperatures, what will happen is you are going to oxidize the fatty acids in these oils. And the oxidized fatty acids are not good for health. So as much as possible, try and consume the oils raw. So, and one more point to make regarding heating up these oils, and that's the fact that the extra virgin cold pressed oils, they tend to have a lower smoke point compared to the refined ones. So you need to bear that in mind. The next point I also want to make is that by virtue of doing this video, I am not in any way encouraging you guys to consume lots of oils, because I always believe that, for good health, we want to keep our fat consumption low, okay? We want to keep it low. Now, if you've got type 2 diabetes and you're trying to reverse your type 2 diabetes, you really want to keep your fat consumption really, really low, to no more than 15% of your total calorie intake for the day. And that equates to about 30 grams of fat a day. So bear that in mind. It's probably the best thing that you will do in the reversal of your type 2 diabetes. Now, if you're not a diabetic, you still want to keep your fat consumption low, to no more than 30% of your total calorie intake for the day, okay? Because when we keep our fat consumption low, that way we keep the metabolic machine running really smoothly. So those were just some points that I wanted to make before we round up. Now tell me if you're using any of these oils already. Let me know in the comment section, and which of them you're going to be choosing to use going forward. Also let me know in the comment section. If you got some value from this very video, please go ahead, give the video a thumbs up, please like the video, and also please share this video with your friends, with your family, with your colleagues. Got questions, comments, go ahead, leave them down below. I think that's it for this video. Until next time, this is Dr. Joe signing out.